Oh, okay.
I'm one of those.
Good morning.
So I don't know if everyone heard, the meeting is live now.
Thank you, Patricia.
No problem. And I'm just going to make sure I've got our
And should be rated G.
document ready here for sharing.
I noticed we'd like to recognize collectively we're on the unceded territories of all the First Nations. Just for, Melanie, when we're up here for Nedic and so forth, Northern Statlium is what we would use. That's the 6 bands that are in the territory that this committee is located on.
So you want to limit it to that? The reason we haven't is because in a virtual world, we have people like myself. I'm currently in Birkin, and we have people in Pemberton and people in Whistler. And so we are actually located on the
greater
lands of
territory. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
If it was in person in Lillooet, we would do that. But when we're doing it remote and we're kind of scattered everywhere, we've tried to stick generic. Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay.
I know Jackie will be coming on, Karen. There haven't been any regrets.
Okay. We still got a couple minutes.
Morning, Karen.
Morning. Hang on just a sec. Let me get organized. 1 sec. I gotta kick a little black and white person out of my room.
Good morning,
We
Matt.
are we're live stream now. And we're just waiting for a couple more people to join us.
Morning, Karen.
Morning, Sal. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what the best way there. That's probably better, hey? Hi, Patricia Westerholm.
Good morning, Karen Playfair.
I haven't seen you for so long.
Karen and I used to work together in a past life.
Yep. Do you guys think that Zoom drinking coffee is kind of like yawning? If one person does it, everybody has to do it?
Thanks, Melanie. I don't feel alone.
I haven't really adapted to Zoom. I still find I'm looking at myself on the screen rather than, my agenda's over here, but I kind of keep checking, but you're still looking for body language from other people. And it's just very, very different. But at least we'll try and get a little bit of work done.
Fixing your hair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My nose gets bigger the longer the meeting goes on.
Like I said yesterday.
Good morning.
It's the wrinkles.
We have a couple, Jackie and Lori just joined us. Welcome. And just to let you know, we're live streaming and we're just waiting for confirmation of that. And have we got everyone now, Chair? Okay,
We
so as soon
do,
as Kristen comes back, we should be good to go.
And Kristen, as the corporate officer, will call the meeting to order. and we'll have elections.
Okay, thanks everyone. We are now live. I have 9 o'clock on the nose, and so I will call this meeting to order. We would like to recognize that collectively we are on the unceded territories of all the First Nations within our regional boundaries. And I will open the floor for nominations for chair for 2021.
I'll
Direct-
nominate Vivian.
Thanks, Director Demare. Do you accept Director Birch-Jones?
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. I'll call a second time for nominations for chair. And I'll call a third time for nominations for chair. Thank you. I will close the floor to nominations, and Director Birch-Jones is acclaimed as chair, and I'll turn over the election of the vice chair to you, Chair Birch-Jones, at this time.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Clark. So we will be calling for the election of the committee vice chair. I'd like to call for nominations from the floor. Yes, Barb.
I nominate Sal Demir for vice chair.
And do you accept, Sal?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll call a second time for nominations for the vice chair. And I'll call a third time for nominations for the vice chair. And hearing no further nominations, Sal Demare, congratulations, you are the vice chair. Thank you. The next item of business is to approve the agenda. May I have a motion to that effect? Have we got additions or changes? Jackie, are you approving the agenda? A motion to approve from Jackie, seconded by Sal. Thank you. And at this point, I just say any opposed. You're indicating yes just by not putting up your hand. So any opposed? Seeing none, motion carried. Now we're into the ministerial order number M192, which is a lengthy entry about the COVID special staff report. Kristen, would you like to pick that up, please?
Thank you. So this looks a little different than the resolution in November. And that's because as of, I believe it was late November, public health orders do not allow any in-person attendance at meetings. So that's been changed a little bit. And then we've just broken out a few of the things that we're doing to make our meeting as transparent as possible. And one new item that we're starting to do with our board and committees is to make a draft of the minutes available before the committee approves them at the next meeting. So they'll go up on our website so that if anybody wants to see what happens at the meeting, normally they would have to wait until those minutes are approved at the next meeting, but we're going to get those up on the website a little bit sooner. Mark them clearly as not yet approved, but the draft minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the M192 order.
Moved and seconded by Jackie. Thank you. I like the minutes being posted early. I think that is more transparency. Thank you. Item 4 is the consent agenda, which just
Sorry, Chair, I didn't hear you call the question on that. Thank you.
Call the question. Any opposed? Motion carried. Now we'll look at the consent agenda. Item 4, which just contains the minutes from our last meeting.
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
Okay, moved by Sal Demare, seconded by Barb Weeb. Any opposed? Motion carried. Business arising from the minutes. There's a couple of items, the color coding being incorporated into the action plan and essentially just saying exactly what we're doing today. Timing and prioritization of the actions in the draft working document and trying to decide actions are prioritized as being immediate to be undertaken in 2021. That's what we're looking at today. Okay. Staff reports and other business. Reports from staff aside from the meeting schedule that we're looking at in the minutes. No? Okay. How are those dates looking for everyone? And thank you very much to the staff for doing that report and providing the background and the complicated schedule that we're working in. So I would need a motion to approve the request for decision on our committee meeting calendar.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Sal, seconded by Barbie. Okay. Thursday, March 11th, Thursday, May 13th, Thursday, July 8th, Thursday, September 9th, Thursday, November 4th, and then even into 2022, which is great. Melanie, did you have your hand up? Am I missing? Nope. Okay. Did I say any opposed? Motion carried? Okay. All right. Consider it done. And then into the meat of the meeting. Direction request, working document. Here we go. 6.2. And I know you're all ready for this. I'm going to bring it up on my screen. Now, I did notice that the tab with the list of groups to meet with. Okay. Patricia's doing that. Thank you very much. And in that case, you would have the tab with the groups. Let's see, how can I? I just want to see if I can change my screen and put this on my large screen. I don't know how to do this. View options.
Are you trying to get out of gallery view, Vivian? So you have there, when you have view options, There's also another one where it can be speakers or, yeah, so you should only see like the large spreadsheet with you small people on the side. Is that what you're seeing? Oh,
That's what I have,
okay.
but I do have a second screen, a large screen.
Chair, if you click exit full screen and drag what you want to go onto the other screen as not being full screen, then you can make it full screen on the other screen.
So exit full screen, I have that. And
And then it's not going to use your full screen, so you can drag it to whichever screen you want it on.
sorry to put you through this, you guys. But I'm not able to move it.
If you go escape, it should work for you.
Escape.
Yeah, and it'll size it down. And you
Or-
can drag, then you can drag and move it.
Well, what I do have is everything on the large screen, so that's much better. And apologies for the delay. That's a new one. Oh, but I'm blank now. Am I blank for you guys? Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's a new twist. You don't necessarily need to see me. I'm smiling. How's that? It's a much better screen. Why the heck would it do that? Oh, I see. Okay. Let's start at the top with area A, or how, okay. Okay, and there's the tab with the name of the organizations. Good.
Well, I think, okay.
Oh, go ahead, Sal.
Well, I'm just wondering if we go to the actions, because that's what we need.
Can I-
And could we scroll over to where the, yeah, just so we can see. So that's where we got the percent completed. So just a reminder, I'm partially colorblind, red, green, brown. But so what would you like to do, Vivian?
Well, first of all, the 67 to 99% is probably a little too dark. As an aesthetic comment, I'm fine with the categories and the shading. Is that what you mean?
No, what I'd like to do is what me and Karen did, and I've got them all listed here, and we've got another spreadsheet that we were working on, and 1.1A, which is the first one. The question is, you know, we've got SLRD is involved in community forums. So is this on the SLRD work plan? And we need to do this past COVID when we can do it face to face. It's a face to face project. And the other thing that I forgot that we commented on was the Statlium 101 session. It was removed from this document. It was deleted, and I don't know why. I know we had a conversation, but the BRVCA is currently with their Economic Development Committee. They've actually formed a subcommittee now with Shalath, Naquaqua, and the BRVCA and some industries to work on actually getting that done.
Okay, so this is good.
So the thing is like we stated, is that it needs to be done after COVID. So it's not urgent right now, and it is short term. So, but once we're out of COVID and the SLRD staff is up to where hopefully it needs to be in the future, say in the year, then we need to start these again with all of the Northern Statlium communities.
Okay, first of all, the SLRD and your comment about the community-to-community forums, I don't know that there's anything actively being applied for now in terms of funding support for that. I mean, those opportunities come up. I think Patricia, did you help with applying for funding for that the last time around?
No, not for the North. Excuse me. That was prior to my time at the SLRD, but Jeanette would have been involved in that.
I would put that into the 1 to 32% portion, because there have been other times that that's happened. So.
And also, I was wondering if I should just assign some of the select funds that I have, like $2,000 or something, to support a community-to-community forum at such time as that's appropriate. I mean, obviously, if we can apply for a fund, that is a bonus. And I think Tribal Council applied for the last one that I attended with the district. Do you remember, Barb or Lori? Jim MacArthur set that up. It was fairly last minute. It was held on a Saturday up at
Yes, I do believe it was applied for by Tribal Council.
So, that might happen again. I'm sure if an opportunity floats in front of Jeanette, she would look at it. I could also set some provisional funding aside so we could be ready. But I kind of agree with Sal. This conversation, the planning can't even really be done until we are somewhat recovered from COVID. Yes, yeah.
Thanks. We did have some funding approved for a C2C event in the Pemberton area, and that was extended due to COVID and the fact that we couldn't hold anything in person. And so we are looking at that right now in terms of just getting some more information on what that program looks like moving forward, just given that the situation with COVID has extended now probably longer than many of us had thought it would. So I can't speak to that in detail, but we are trying to get more information about where that's at, just in terms of the overall program itself. So there may be some more information coming out that we could share at some point. Because whatever's happening with that, the funding that we had for the event in Pemberton, I'm sure would apply to the broader program as well. They had, for anything that had been approved, the deadline to host the event was last March. And if they hadn't happened, it was really close. We were in the very, we were pulling it all together for our event, and it was going to be really close to the deadline anyway for the program. And then with COVID, it was extended. So, and we haven't heard anything in terms of how that program is moving forward, but we are looking into that right now. If that helps with this at all.
I personally think we wait until a further meeting and wait and see what happens with COVID and also the staff situation with the SLRD. You know, if we do get that intern position, then maybe we can have that person do some work on this, on the funding and so on and so forth. That's my recommendation.
Yes, Patricia.
Thanks. Do we want to capture that in this document at all?
I would like to, yeah. And maybe I could ask CAO Melanie to just mention the NDIT intern, since Sal referenced it, but I don't think everyone would know about that.
Okay, thank you, Chair. The board approved that we apply for an NDIT intern under a grant program that they have. It provides, NDIT, if successful, would provide 2/3 of the funding, most of the funding associated with the position. It would end up costing us $10,000 plus the MERCs. And that application was submitted before the January the 8th deadline, and we're supposed to hear back by the middle of February. I have worked with the intern grants before. They tend to be very intelligent young people, usually young people, well educated in the area of local government, and their ambition is to build careers in local government. We have really focused this particular application around the items that are on our work plan for areas A, B, and Lillooet, and in particular the rural areas, but that because we have not, didn't have the time to build a partnership application with the District of Lillooet, but recognizing that NEDIC includes priorities that are related to all three of those areas. And so we are excited and hopeful that they will consider favorably our application. The SLRD has never had NDIT intern before, but I've worked with some of them in the north and found that they were really a great asset to the organization. Most have actually gone on to successful careers in local government since their internship in senior government positions, and some are even CAOs now. So it's a great program, and it would really be a big help to the northern part of the SLRD. This individual would be focused only on those areas because the remainder of the SLRD is not part of the NDIT service area. And I think it'll be a big help to all of you if it's successful.
Thank you. So I have my fingers crossed on that application. And I really appreciate, Melanie, that you recognized the opportunity and made the application in pretty short order for us, because that would be someone who could have the experience of just working for our areas, and some footwork that we could have done. It would be terrific. I think it would be a good experience for the intern, and it would be an excellent help for this committee. And we could make a reference to it. I'm not sure that it goes here, but it's definitely an action that's happening that could have some really nice consequences for us. And thank you, Patricia, for making that change. Sal, would you like to pick it up again?
I think the only comment I'll make is, I'm just wondering, Patricia, it looks like you're the one that's got control of the spreadsheet. If you just couldn't copy that one little 1% to 32%, and then copy it into that spot. Yeah, and then we could probably get rid of that whole line where it's all colored. That way it, yeah, and I'll try copying that again and putting it in there. That upper one, so it's colored, so it comes out colored. Yeah, see if that works for you. Yeah. So I had requested, a drop-down menu where you could just pick those and plunk them in, but maybe down the road we can get that done. Is everybody okay with that coloring scheme? A way like that?
Except maybe for that dark one, maybe there's another shade of green. But I see Karen, you have your hand up. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Tara. I just want to be clear on what we're wanting to accomplish with some of these things. Like, so with this particular item, just to clarify, what we're saying is that if we get the funding, if we get the staff, and presuming that you can get together again, sort of post-COVID, that this in fact this committee thinks this is a priority for staff for 2021, or are we saying it's not a priority because all of these pieces aren't in place yet, and that we think it should be picked up again in 2022? Yeah, just wondering if we can be clear on these items, what we think are the priorities for 2021, so that staff is able to hopefully talk about them and incorporate them as much as possible in their work planning for 2021.
This is Sal. I would say it's a 2022, but the research could be started in 2021 to explore the funding.
But we're all kind of agreed that this is actually a priority of this big list of things to do, that this one hits into the top, whatever, 10 or 2021s as possible.
Comments? Jackie?
I won't use the, I had the little icon up, which I'll take down now, but
You know what? I don't see that. Can you can you try that again? Because I actually don't see that. Is that because I have a tiny little?
yeah, there it's up now, Vivian, but I'll just raise my hand.
I don't see it. Yeah, just raise your hand.
Okay.
Wave or interrupt, because I actually don't see the little hand icon.
Okay, that sounds good. I just want to pull back a little bit. Maybe it's just me, but I do need some clarification about the process today. So if somebody can take me through what we're actually doing, because we dove pretty deep into one line and this percentage completed. I like the percentage completed section. I didn't realize that we would be going through the action items, and I'm just even looking at, my understanding was that we'd be looking at timing, and we would be looking at priorities based on the timing piece. So I was hoping that we wouldn't go through line by line, and that we wouldn't go through timing line by line. We wouldn't go through percent completed time by time, line by line, that we would have an idea of what the top three that we're doing. And this is why this first one is confusing to me, because I thought this one was immediate, but so yeah, so I really just need some clarification on what we're doing today, because I just need a reminder.
I hear you loud and clear. What do you think? Do you think just going down the line under the timing? And like, what do you think, Jackie, is the best way to sort of attack it?
Well, in the past, what seems to have worked a little bit better, and that people did, we've already prepared for this, is that if there's any change to the timing piece, that you say it and we discuss it and we either change it or leave it. and the percentage complete, I feel that I would hope that the knowledge would lie within the staff of either the district or the SLRD. And that if they needed help from us to identify whether that was, if they did the first cut, that we looked at it and said, yeah, we think that's about the same, or no, we know that there's other things going on that could bump it up or lessen it or whatever. So I think that could possibly be move us forward to be able to sort this document and look at the immediate ones and start to look at what this committee actually wants to do, which is, so I'm taking a deep breath and trying to, see this and try to be as efficient as possible for this. Yeah, this is what I want to get to. That's that thing Patricia just switched over to. So maybe Sal, or maybe you had a different idea, or can somebody explain to me sort of what anyone else thinks we need to do on this document to make it to make us get to that ability to sort and start to discuss what we're going to do, and then even just have each SLRD and the district look at those things that they've been named for the immediate or whatever. And yeah, so I'll just stop talking.
Well, this is Sal. Yeah, we could easily sort by immediate on the actions and then look at those. What me and Karen did, we went prior to the previous meeting, we actually went and prioritized what we wanted to do. And if you remember, we did it. What I suggested was that we, what is it that you want for your area A? What can area A and area B do together? And then what can all three, including Lillooet, are engaged in? And then prioritize this. So I've got a list here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 items from this whole document that we made comments on. And basically that 1.1A was one of them. So I know this is hard, what we're doing, and we're not in a room that we could spend 4, 5, 6 hours on it. But yeah, if you want to do the immediate ones, it's just a matter of sorting on that action plan sheet right here, sort that timing one with all their immediate, and then just work through them and decide which ones are important. And I've got my other file on my other screen, and some are immediate, some are long-term, some are short-term. So I've got our list that we can work through. I don't know what Lillooet has done, so.
Barb here, Vivian.
Hi.
I'm
Yes.
going to admit I am totally unprepared for this meeting. First time ever. I missed the last meeting due to my surgery, and Lori and I haven't been able to get together to go over this. She did drop it off to me a couple of days ago, and I haven't had time to go through it. So I've already texted her to be our lead, and I will just kind of jump in if I feel fit. But I just wanted everybody to know where I kind of sit on this one. So whatever you people decide, we will agree with.
Okay, well, I know that Jackie's sort of had a kind of sense of the priorities, and she spent and has been waiting to sort of move this along. And I don't want to not include the work that Sal and Karen have done from A. So Sal, do you want to just take a few minutes and just sort of tell us about your list, and then we'll just sort of keep that in mind, and we'll sort this and make sure that they're there.
Well, we have a number of them that are immediate, so I'm fine with if we can sort by immediate.
Okay.
I think you have to go to data to sort, if I'm not mistaken. Up top on the yeah. and sort, yeah. And then just highlight that column. Timing, it's right there, yeah.
I did see something in the newspaper about the district setting up a committee and working around some cultural initiatives, I think at the recreation center. Is that right, Lori?
Yes, there's actually lots of new developments, I think, with regards to just the museum and the historical society, which all kind of rolls into collaboration with our Statliam neighbors. And I was going to wait till we got to the tourism part of this to say what we were doing. As for the cultural center, I mean, we're tossing around ideas and we're doing our finances starting the week of the 25th of January. So I think with our finances, everything will be more laid out there into what we want. We have one strategic planning meeting before those finances start.
So yeah, Jackie, it's just something that I was thinking about, is that we're all going to have relevant updates every time we meet from our different, that's one of the most valuable things of the committee. You know, something we do at the Fraser Basin is supposed to be a 5-minute update. We could plan to do a short update from the participants at the beginning of our meetings and then try and sort of update this document accordingly. Is that going to become too onerous, or is that a good idea if it's time limited and focused? Because the value of exchanging that information, I think, is immeasurable for this committee. Your thoughts on that? And then, yeah, please go ahead, Jackie.
No, I was just going to suggest that. I think that moving forward, after we look at what we think is a good idea to start making progress on, or specific things, that when we meet, that the most important thing is going to be getting information from staff and information from representatives about what's happening. So I think that the update is good, but I also think it needs, yes, we definitely need to do the update, and for each of us to think with the relevancy to this and the goals moving forward. And then the other is just a process to ensure that information gets put on the spreadsheet. So whether that gets like sent ahead of time or as a follow-up, either way, I mean, staff can help with the process. But I believe that we need to continually just sharing information, like Melanie's sharing the information about that particular staff member is very relevant. So when we have staff updates on the agenda, I feel like that should have been like front and center. So if we can start to really be familiar and just do quick reviews of this spreadsheet to wrap our heads around the goals and objectives and the types of actions that are on here, so that when we're in our other meetings or in other things that we go, oh, right, that's relevant to the percent completed for this particular something on the economic development front. So yeah, so if that could, maybe we can have suggestions from staff on procedure on how that should work. They can follow up with us, and I'm happy if Sal actually wants to share his screen and show us what those 15 top priorities are for him and Karen, actually.
Yeah, I think we can do that, but I also wanted to let Lori go ahead. Thanks, Jackie.
Thanks. Sometimes just a bit of a round table at the beginning of the meeting, because often what I was going to share falls under multiple categories within this list. So it might fall under tourism, it might fall under, working with our partnerships with our Statland neighbors. It might fall under different things that are all over the place. So if we started maybe with a bit of a round table, then maybe we could define where everybody is and what they've been doing. And then we can kind of, pick up on that as we go through the list. Just a suggestion.
Is it fair to ask staff to incorporate the comments from the roundtable into this action plan? Not necessarily while we're doing it, Patricia, but as notes to be added to the plan following? Is that a way to have the roundtable and the updates and then have them captured in the action plan? Is that a good process? And I see CAO Melanie.
Thank you, Chair. Just wondering if you would like to have that added similarly to what we do at the board meetings, where you could make that part of your agenda as opposed to trying to embed it somehow in the document. And the other thing that we do at most of our other meetings is there's a section for a CAO verbal update embedded in the agenda as well, so that if there's something like the NDIT internship application that we'd like to just give you a summary of what's occurred, then that provides that opportunity to do that as well. And another one that we sometimes have is a chair verbal. So those might be some tools we're using elsewhere that could be supportive to where you're heading with this.
I like the suggestion of the roundtable, the opportunity for the participants to give a brief update as it pertains to this plan, or interesting and important things for us to share. We know what they are. And I also appreciate your other suggestion about the CAO update, and those could be at the beginning of our agendas. What do people think? Is that good? I don't know necessarily about a chair update, because I think I would just do that as part of, personally, Area B. I'm not seeing any nods or anything. Jackie's hand.
Can I make a motion to include a roundtable feature or agenda item on our agenda with the goal of updating everyone and the spreadsheet? So that includes staff and directors and alternates.
I'll second that.
You're on mute, Chair. You're on mute.
Thanks. Moved by Jackie, seconded by Lori. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. So that's one part of what was suggested. I also would entertain a motion for an update from staff from the CAO as part of a regular agenda item as it pertains to this action plan. Moved by Sal. Seconder. I'll second that.
Chair, my original motion included staff.
Sorry.
Is that what you
No, no.
guys captured?
Maybe let me just ask for the motion to be read back, and I'll pay attention. And I see Sal's hand up as well.
I'd like to amend the motion to just add a CAO verbal report to the agenda.
So, sorry, what motion do you want to amend, Director Demare? Are you talking about the motion that alternate director Rasmussen made, or the one that the chair made earlier?
The one that the chair made earlier. where it
Okay,
was the staff and,
So that resolution was to include in the committee agenda a roundtable item. So that typically goes under the chair's verbal. And then the CAO verbal, as the chair, I think, is thinking about it, is a separate item.
yes,
So,
Yep.
so I think we could leave, I think the round table would then would lead us to create a chair verbal, because that's where that item typically is tucked into. And then we could have another resolution to add the CAO update portion.
yes, that's the one I want, the CAO update,
So I think
verbal update.
yeah, that could be a separate, not an amendment to the original one. And just a note that we do have a prescribed order. So if I would just suggest that if you want that to be held earlier in the meeting, we could just assign a time to it and it could be pulled up, as opposed to pulling. We can't really pull it up if we're following our procedure bylaw that sets out how our agendas are laid out. But we'll take care of that part, just so you know. You won't necessarily see it right at the top of the agenda. We can assign a time to it so that we will go to it earlier in the meeting, which I think achieves the same thing that the committee's looking for.
Yep.
Thank you.
So so what we want then, a motion to add a CAO verbal report.
Are we losing the notion of having the round table from the participants?
No, it's already passed.
It's already done?
Yep.
And the CAO, is that just assuming that that's including the staff?
The staff is included in the first one.
I'll second Sal's motion for the CAO update.
Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carried. And if I'm understanding, Kristen is saying that in order to have this early on the agenda, we assign time to it. Although on the agenda that will be circulated, it will be appearing later because that is the procedural way it needs to be done. Is that right? Okay. Okay, good. And now Jackie's suggestion of Sal sharing his screen. I see Patricia's got all of our immediate ones up. What next, you guys?
Well, I can share my screen and go there if you'd like, Chair. So I don't know if that Kristen's got control of the meeting, but I've asked. You cannot start screen sharing while others are participating.
Yeah, thanks. Patricia will end her screen share, and then you should be able to screen share, Director Demare.
Okay.
Thanks.
So can you see it on your screen now? Everybody see that?
Sal, you just have your picture of your
There.
lake. So you need to go back to the other screen. And can you reduce the view a little bit? It's a bit, oh, okay, there we go. We couldn't see I couldn't see the left-hand side. There we go.
You got it now? I'll try reducing it a bit. How's that? Can you see it?
Yep,
Okay.
that looks okay to me.
Okay. So the first one was the one we just talked about. The second one here, create Northern Statland Economic Development Working Group with SLRD district and BRVCA staff. And it's an immediate one. And like it's written in there, now I'm having a hard time reading it on my other screen here. Have to do the C2C forum first and propose this at one of the sessions. The BRVCA will have a signed agreement with the SLRD mining companies, BC Hydro and Shalath to pass that SLRD board. So you can see the BRVCA is highly active on this front from the conversations that we've had. So basically what it says there, this should come from one of those C2C sessions. It's not something that we want to start right now until we've had the next C2C session, and at that propose this, or maybe the second session, because we've got a whole bunch of new players now. We've got new chiefs, we've got, the list goes on. So that's a thought on that. Any comments?
What timing are you assigning to it?
It's already immediate. It's an immediate one. So basically we have to have the C2C. So it'll be in the late, it could be at the first meeting as an agenda item when we do have the C2C. Put it out there to
Okay,
the group. So late 2022.
I see Jackie's hand.
I just wanted to completely support this this particular one. And I see that Sal has a highlight on the one above, and just put it out there that yeah, that hopefully we can go back to the one above, but that we definitely may be able to move forward with some of this and the introduction of it through the relationship building from the top, and that maybe we don't have to wait until we can do face-to-face, that perhaps we could introduce the topic to plant the seed even with a virtual session. So but definitely looking to the direction, knowing that there's stuff being done at the district level and the SLRD, possibly with Jeanette back. So yeah, I just want to say I completely support this one.
Okay.
Thank you. Carry on, Sal.
This is a long-term one. Develop a Northern SLRD access issue opportunities briefing note for the UBCMs. Well, we did, and we had the meetings, and there were some positive outcomes from them. But moving forward, we're going to have, I've got another early meeting, and one of the topics, this is an interesting one. One of the things we talked about at the 2021 was about the Hurley and getting road data, vehicle data. We got it early this week, and it's mind-blowing. I'll just grab those stats. I've got them here someplace. Oh, geez, too much paperwork.
Well, you find that.
Yeah,
okay.
in 2012, there was, and they had issues with their counters, and they only have counters at the bottom of the Hurley on the Lillooet FSR, and at the steel bridge where the road veers off to go to Braylorn and to Goldbridge. So they basically got them on bridges. That's the way they work. And in 2012, it was 2,000 to 2,300 a month in September. So these are only September numbers. In 2019, it was 3,000 a month. So you can see the increase from 2012 to 2019. Last year, 2020, 19,000. So with that, in their reply, they're going to put up 6 more counters on the Hurley so they can actually figure out where all this traffic is going, how much is going to Braylor, and how much is going to Goldbridge, how much is going up to the top of the Hurley where we've had all the issues at Semaphore Lakes, and one up into Hope Creek on the Hurley. So very positive. They understand now that they got to make improvements to the Hurley. And we're setting up a meeting with the BRVCA and ministers involved, all the ministry people, into late February, and to discuss this and see what the options are. We've also, the MLA is also going to be doing quarterly meetings with the Mayor of Lillooet, myself and Vivian, and I do have a First Nations representative that I'll be asking the minister to also invite, which is Rod Louie from the Shalaf Development Corporation. And what I'll be asking the minister is very similar to what we did with the Hurley. I want data. We can't go to those meetings without data. So some of the data that I want to have for the main roads that lead into Lillooet and into our area, like the Duffy, the Highway 12, Highway 97, is that we need data. We need ICBC data. We need RCMP data. We need vehicle count data. We need Dawson Road Maintenance, which services all the areas, all the complaint forms that were put in, so that we've got some data that we can, when we talk to the minister, we can get some action done. Very similar to what just happened with the Hurley. Without the data, you don't know. So that's where we're at with it.
Excellent.
Again, it's long term, but as you can see it, it's going to be a continual thing moving forward. Every 3 months, we'll have those meetings with them.
So I just want to check, Patricia, are you able to capture this for incorporation into this document in some way as like actions taken, and this is very significant. It's a very good initiative. I'm sure it's something that we all agree on. And also something that I was going to bring up later was just when we had that meeting, Sal, you'll remember that David Rhodes and Dawson offered to meet with this committee at some point in the future. He has an obligation to sort of consult with the elected representatives, and they do meet with a similar committee in the Caribou, and he was quite pleased to know this committee existed, and Dawson wanted to report to us and get some feedback from us. So that's something else that we can do along these lines, or is that duplication to what you're suggesting?
No, we could add that to it.
Okay.
It's all important.
Okay, so yes, Jackie.
I just had a question then. We still have a note about whether there was an advocacy committee already, or at least the transportation already existing. And I can't remember what the staff had said about that. So if it's not already in existence, does this committee put a motion forward to recommend to the board to strike that committee, or can someone clarify how that works? Because I would like to put the motion forward if we don't already have something older, because my understanding was that there was something previously in place that we might be able to just resurrect.
Melanie, yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure of the history of this group, but I do know we have an action on the EAD, Electoral Area Directors Committee, which is assigned to the directors to be the lead on, because it's advocacy, and it is surrounding the same issues about the the road conditions and the need to invest in and maintain and improve the roads. So I'm wondering if that is, if that's the same thing, but it's not really, what we have now is not really a committee as far as I'm aware, but I know that it involves Director Demare as well as Moti and whoever is responsible for maintaining the roads. Is that what we have in place adequate, or do we need to take an additional step, and what would that step look like? More.
This is Sal. I think, as you see on that item, I'll just highlight it again. It's that I've got Area A and Area B take the initiative to make it happen, because you know, the whole context of this one here was about UBCM, so it's not really about this little other committee that's a side note, but I think we get more action out of this meeting with the ones I've commented on. And then, yes, we still have to do for the next ministers' meetings for, you know, the next go around in 2022 with UBCM is, yeah, we still have to do the, you know, get ourselves ready for what we want to ask the actual ministers. So there's kind of two different things there. There's the ministers' meetings that we have to prep for, which is an annual event. And then this is one of the two of the outcomes that have come out of it from those ministers' meetings, which I think are probably going to be more beneficial than the actual ministers' meetings. But, you know, whatever comes out of these meetings can be brought forward to the minister meetings also. So my take on it is, you know, this document will keep on moving, and the team needs our Area A and Area B. And we've incorporated the First Nations and also the Mayor of Lillooet into those meetings.
Okay, so just to clarify then, we don't need any motion to carry on with the work that's being done. So I just want to say I support this. I think it's great to put it up at the top for priority, and yeah, it's great, the work that's being done, Sal. Thank you.
Okay, next one. Improve connectivity. So there's been one pile of work done by Minto Communications. They're actually going to be applying for $800,000 worth of improvements to upgrade the bandwidth coming into the valley from 100 megabytes per second to 1,000. And the other piece of it is to take the upload speeds and download speeds up to 50 and 10. Currently, it's about 10 and 1. So today's the 14th. Tomorrow, their application goes in. So, I have no idea what's going on in Area B, but we do know that the SLRD is one of the action plans that they've got is to do a survey of all the SLRD areas on where their internet services are at. So
Correct. And that's something else that probably should be in there. Yes.
yeah.
So that's, sorry to interrupt, that's in there. So I just have a couple comments. So just to this most immediate point, we have that in there on Patricia's document 3.1.
Okay.
SLRD is pursuing funding for a report to identify broadband services gaps in the regional district. So that is in there.
Okay.
So if I could just back up though to the previous one, because that one has been taken out of what I'll call Patricia's document, so everyone understands, because we're looking at a different document right now.
Yeah.
And my recollection around why we took that out is because we aren't able to establish committees that involve the province. We just can't make them meet with us. So what's showing on Director Demers' document there, 2.1, that has been removed from the document that was part of your agenda, for the reason that we can't establish an MOTI committee. Only MOTI can establish a committee that they want to participate in. Yet those, as our CAO mentioned, those items are being moved forward by directors and has been identified as a priority. So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's actually the MLA's meeting. It's not our meeting. It's not Maudie's meeting. It's the MLA meeting. She's spearheading or Jackie Taggart. So I don't know if that has implications for what you were just talking about.
Yeah, it sounds like we just need to change it to participate in regularly held discussions regarding the roads, that could include but not limited to. And so you just need to change the wording so that it doesn't, I mean, the one I'm looking at says that we're establishing a transportation advocacy committee. We're not actually, anyways, so it's just wording. We just need to change it so that we have we're basically establishing that we need to meet on a regular basis to advocate and to get the statistics from the right people about our roads in the northern area. So let's just keep it and change it. And then, yeah, that's my suggestion, is to just change it so that we make sure that we're what Sal's pointing to that's already happening, it continues to happen.
So that's reflected in the document, but the responsibility is shifted by wording it such that we are participating in those meetings. Are you comfortable with that, Kristen?
So, sorry. So to go back to Patricia's document that is not up on the screen right now.
Yeah.
So we have as item 2.1, if anybody just wants to look at their agenda, we have use NETIC to further the advocacy initiatives. And then over in the far column, we have advocacy work and quarterly meetings as needed or ongoing by SLRD and District of Lillooet. So is that the wording you want? You want it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is the wording as it is fine?
Yes.
And
yeah.
Perhaps add Bridge River Valley Community Association.
Well, they're actually not involved in it.
Okay, then
Yeah.
it's perfect the way it is. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay.
So sorry, just to clarify, because we don't have the working document up right now. We're not making any changes related
No, that's fine.
to that item. Okay.
Basically, just what I've done is just basically given an update on
thanks.
where it's at.
Okay.
Okay, Sal, carry on, but you have to
Okay,
pick up.
we're good with the connectivity portion. Again, it's more of an update. The one I've got highlighted there. That we've got one nonprofit organization really pushing hard to move forward with the connectivity issues that we've got. So I'll go on to the next one. It's create network trails centered around each community. So what we're asking for is a Northern SLRD trails strategy. And I don't know if that's in there already. And it's another long-term one, but it's important for all three areas.
And I really agree with you. We are not creating a network of trails. Is that what you're going to have removed? Is that right? We are not creating.
No, what we want to
Supporting.
do is have a SLRD trail strategy, Northern SLRD trail strategy, similar to the Sea to Sky trail strategy.
Got that, Patricia?
Sorry to jump in again. So currently in Patricia's document, we have at 5.1, create a network of trails centered around each community in the Northern SLRD. And then as one of the actions, we have 5.1A, develop a regional trail strategy for the Northern SLRD that identifies areas where trails would be appropriate in nature and nature of trail use. With Northern Statlium communities to be involved. And then there's another sentence there. So that's what is currently in our working document.
Okay. So we can just eliminate this one and add it to, I mean, it can stay in the document, but what we need a Northern SLRD trail strategy. In the end, that's what we need. And it probably fits better in that other one you just mentioned, Kristen.
So the one I just read?
Yeah.
Because our action is to develop a regional trail strategy for the Northern SLRD.
And what's the timing on it?
Short term.
Short term. Yep. Fine.
So that's okay. No changes to be made, correct?
Yep. No changes.
Okay, thank you.
I think Barb's got her hand up.
And Jackie as well. So Barb and then Jackie, please.
I do hold my hand up because I was kind of privy to some information here in regards to a meeting yesterday, and I don't know if it is similar or maybe should be included. Squamish had a meeting yesterday, and they're making an application to the government for COVID infrastructure grant, and they're looking at bike track, trails, the rec area down by the bridge across from the Cayuse band office or whatever. So yeah, there was talk about trails and bike trails and whatnot down there. So I don't know if, yeah, I'm just thinking that's where the money might be if you wanted to kind of reach out.
I think Jackie had her hand up there.
Well, I can segue and add to that too. My understanding, and probably Sal knows a bit more too, I know that the local, like Lillooet Off-Road Cycling Society has been working a little bit with Squamish to talk about a pump track. So that's where you need more physical infrastructure and like cement and all the rest of it to create that kind of a bike trail and pump track system. And that was what I had heard that location was going to be used for. So that's pretty exciting to hear. But the thing that I wanted to ask Sal about, and probably Vivian, with regards to this trail strategy, given my knowledge about recreation and the bigger picture with recreation, I've been doing some more research with my invasive species hat on about recreation planning. So Sal, what's your opinion, or Vivian, about?
And I see Karen too, yeah.
Karen, yeah, the strategy being just trails. Will we cover everything off, or do we need a recreation plan? I know that we have in the BRVCA, or BVRCA, we have a tourism plan, and same with the District of Lillooet. So maybe that recreation stuff, do you feel it's covered off in there?
Part of I don't know if you've ever seen a trail strategy that Cascades Environmental has done. They did the Sea to Sky one. You should have a look at it, and it goes through a lot of different things. So when this takes place, if we ever get to that point, we can set up the criteria that we want in that trail strategy, including the First Nations, the invasive species, public recreation, the whole gamut. So, and including tourism and And that's one of the things that they actually have in there is the tourism impacts to the communities and stuff like that. So that's when we get to that point, you know, to set the criteria out for the request for proposals. That's my take on it. A couple of other things. I
Just,
had a
sorry, Sal, Karen had her hand up a while ago.
Okay, sorry.
Someone else did too. Maybe it was Jackie, but Karen, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I guess just a couple of things. One, sort of further to what Sal was saying, but combining what Jackie was saying and back to Kristen's point was it. I guess the question is, you know, the trails strategy is really the master plan of trails that takes into consideration all of the things that the groups that have to be worked with, the things that need to be done, and what makes the most sense. But Jackie, you brought up a really good point. Is that part of a greater recreation strategy? And I think you're probably right. It is, because it would as well overlap with the tourism strategy. Although I think you probably want to start with recreation because that's more community based. Although we are here to discuss economic development. So I suppose from that perspective, it's the tourism strategy is important. But back to what you were asking, Kristen, which is, you know, or have we covered this in the document? It sounds to me like what we all said was that strategy description, create a network of trails, isn't really what the overall strategy is. It's more create a master plan for trails or a strategy for trails, not the network. And that maybe later on down the line, the network is an action item within that. So I don't know if that helps to describe it a little bit better for the purposes of this document. And then the second part was, yes, Barb, I know Jeff and Kevin from Lorca were down and met with the Sequoia, I think it's Robin from Sequoia, and looked at that. And that there's some trails there, but I think it's a bit more of a recreational project that includes some trails. It's not specific to just trails. It's actually quite extensive, and it's pump track, and they had a whole bunch of ideas. So yeah, that was pretty exciting stuff, and looking for some big money there. If that helps with that bit.
I don't want to lose, yeah, thumbs up. I don't want to lose the sort of change though from in the document. We are not creating a network of trails, right? We're sort of supporting a recreation management plan. And I think that's kind of an important, having been involved in creating some trails in the past, I know that it would be better to start at a higher level, working with the Statlium and other organizations, and of course the SLRD. I'm really pleased if there's a bit of a plan going on from the SLRD that addresses the North, but let's change that from create a network of trails to just, yes, Kristen? Sorry, and there was someone
Hi,
else.
thank you. So maybe we should finish Director Demers' document and then get our document, the working document, back up on the screen. So I'm just referring to, we're working within the framework that was developed as part of the report. And so those aren't like those words were given, were part of the report prepared by Cadence. So
Totally.
the strategy description is create a network of trails centered around each community in the Northern SLRD. And then there's several items broken out, and then there's actions. So maybe when we get back to having that document on the screen, because if you're telling us to change that strategy description to support a management plan, I just want to make sure that we're all looking at the same thing when we make that change, because then we make the change and bring it back, and then we're just, it's a hard, it's cumbersome going through this document. And because we have this discussion and I'm not sure we're supposed to make changes based on the discussion. So it would be helpful, I think, for staff if we had that document and everybody was looking at it after Director Demers goes through his document. Thanks.
Got it. Is everyone good with that? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, carry on, Sal.
Yeah,
But it
just
is
one
10:20.
more on the trail piece. Shalat Development Corporation has put in for funding also, and I can't remember what the number is, $1 or $2 million to actually develop trails. And one of the trails is from the summit of Mission Mountain to Lillooet up high. So they're moving forward if they get the funding already. And the BRVCA Trail Committee and Rod Louie from the manager of Shalat Development Corporation are supposed to be having a call and discuss, you know, how they can work together also. Which leads me to the next one, the MOU with BRVCA and the Lillooet Tribal Council. The MOU ran out in June last year, and now the Lillooet Tribal Council has come back and asked for a 5-year extension to it, and also the Hoiston is involved and Shalath, as I just mentioned. So they got some different options, and they've got a meeting coming up so that they can review the different options and the trail committee has and see what route they're going to take. Just to further to what the discussion previously on the recreation piece, when we were working, I was the main lead on that MOU, and it was interesting when we started talking about their land use plan, the LTC's land use plan. They never had public recreation in it. They just didn't have recreation as part of their land use plan. And through the conversations that we had, you know, I said when I was working with the manager at the LTC there, that, you know, the MOU could be a good template for them to use for their public recreation, you know, many of the components that were in it. So I don't know what the status is on their draft land use plan. It was, I think it was built in 2010 or something like that. So I have no idea where they're at with their land use plan actually get it finalized. So it's just some information. You know, when we do if we ever get to that trail strategy for the Northern SLRD, of course, they're going to be a key component. And just to let you know that they never had a recreation element to their land use plan. So I think that's just an update, but it's an immediate one, and hopefully the trail committee can continue on with their MOU with the LTC. That would be my recommendation for them, but it's up to them. I don't vote on that committee anymore.
Okay.
Any comments? Okay, I'll go to the next one. Continue to support the efforts of the Bridgeville Valley Community Association, ECDEF Committee in Tourism Promotion, and the list goes on. So it's an immediate one, and managing tourism due to the lack of government resources. Work is being done currently to move things forward by Tourism Lillooet, the BRVCA Tourism Pemberton, and with funding application to Destination BC. That's where it's at. And
can you move your spreadsheet over so we can see the beginning part of it? Because I'm not seeing what you're reading.
oh, sorry. So it's this one.
A wee bit more.
That's all I got.
Okay.
So it's Tourism Area A, Area B, District of Lillooet. Effectively market remarkable visitor experiences that are already here to the Northern SLRD. So basically what it's saying is that everybody's doing their part right now for what they get, for any funding that they get. And most of it is from Destination BC. And as we all know, everybody's had to calm things down due to COVID. So a lot of the messaging is visit us later. But it's another immediate.
Okay. Is that the, I don't know how much more you have on your screen, Sal, so proceed.
Okay. Next one is same category. Ensure visitor center in Lillooet and visitor info booth in Goldbridge are knowledgeable. So it's about training. So visitor centers in Lillooet and BRBC have restrictions due to COVID this coming year. So basically that's where we're at with the tourism.
Mm-hmm.
Next one. Same category. Especially tourist info centers, visitors information training by Destination BC. Businesses also need this training. And what we talked about was create a checklist for business training, such as Trailforks. I know going back a couple of years ago, I did all the training for the tourist info booth in Goldbridge. Some of the businesses like Kayaks Lodge and so on and so forth on how to use Trailforks, how to have people upload onto their smartphones and use it because it's GPS based and so on and so forth. So what we need is a checklist for these businesses so that
Yeah. Okay.
so that whoever the proponent is going out and helping them work through a checklist. So they get the proper information, how to use the information and so on and so forth.
I'm just worried we're getting a little too far into the weeds, but
Okay,
are
yeah,
you close
I'm
to-
almost done.
Yeah.
Same category. Work with stat and communities and so on and so forth. So the comment is, it was deleted, and that's why I put it up in that very first one. That was the one that was deleted. So yeah, just a comment, and I moved it up, so you don't have to worry about that one.
Oh, so
Go ahead, Jackie.
sorry, we don't have to worry about that one then, Sal, because
No.
it's covered.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. It is hard. Okay. Yes.
Mining short term. What we talked about was, and what was talked about at the ECDEV meeting the last time was Chamber of Commerce for the Goldbridge area for businesses. And what me and Karen thought about is that the Lillooet Chamber of Commerce is having difficulties here, is to add the Goldbridge onto their portfolio and see if that would work. So that's just a comment.
It's a good idea. And energy.
Yeah. Next one is energy. Area had its first meeting, but could be improved. We had it with BC Hydro that was initiated, and it was actually a very good meeting. Other than some of the ECDEV people with the BRVCA thought that it could go deeper into actually getting down to the nitty gritty of, okay, when are you guys going to want some rental units and so on and so forth. So the question is there value in us forming a sub-energy or SLRD energy subcommittee that we want to meet regularly on energy? Is there value in it? And the energy to do it. And it's an immediate one.
Okay, welcome back, Karen. And the question then is, how do these, Jackie, do you have your hand out? Are we going to ask for Sal to make sure Patricia has some of these changes incorporated into the larger document? And go ahead, Jackie.
I just want to get Sal's opinion. Okay, so the one thing on the Chamber of Commerce piece, that mining one, was it specific to that mining, or were you actually suggesting a different type of action that has more to do with economic development that would support economic development with the chamber? I mean, does that need to be reviewed when we go back to the big document? And I just want to comment that an energy subcommittee would definitely also, I would say, probably would relate to the sustainability plan for the SLRD and moving forward with energy efficiency and that kind of thing. So not only would it bring in sort of the talks and the continual dialogue with BC Hydro, but it would start to infiltrate all the kinds of things like promoting green energy and things like that, I would hope. So maybe just if you could tell me about the first one with the chamber.
Yeah, with the chamber, like, they should be able to start hosting some of these different forums, right? And I don't know what the chamber does in Lillooet. I have no idea, to be honest. But I know the BRC ECDEF committee, that was what they were talking about, was because all these different businesses that we have in the valley and some of the training that they need and help that they need and so on and so forth, that it would be good to start one up there. And then when me and Karen talked about all this the other day, you know, she's familiar with the Chamber of Commerce in Lillooet, and maybe that's an option to add that to Goldbridge area to their portfolio. And then through that, you know, we have a number of exploration companies in our area currently, 3 or 4 of them actually. And some of them have signed on and also want to sign on to the to that memorandum of understanding that was just approved at the SLRD board meeting. So that whole concept of businesses, which includes industry, you know, is it something that the Lillooet Chamber of Commerce could tackle? Some of these areas are actually in Area B also, where the mining proposals are happening, exploration.
And that's something we could talk to the chamber about if we invited them or sort of knew more about what they were doing. It's a logical
Yeah, it would be.
collaboration for this committee to make. I would like to suggest a 5-minute break. It's 20, at least by I should look at the computer, 10:34.
I think maybe could we just finish up
Yes, yeah, by all means.
the last one there so we can talk to that one? And so I kind of have to agree with what Jackie just said, that part of this subcommittee could also work on different initiatives also. I'm not sure if it's economic development focused, but the whole concept I think of the energy is how can we benefit from these energy producing. We've got Energex, we've got Boralex, Independent Power, we've got BC Hydro, and so on and so forth. So how can we benefit? And we do have in our area some SLRD installations of solar power, and the BRVCA has one at their Heritage site. So I'll leave it up to this committee what they'd like to see.
Okay. I agree that that should be expanded. So sorry, Kristen, did you have your hand up? Yes, please.
Thank you. Just before we break, I just want to say that we haven't made any changes to the document based on this conversation. And because I'm not really sure if we're being directed to. So if we could just go, when we go back to the other document and our screen sharing it, if you could then instruct us where you want to see things put in, because I think this would be a whole new item on here. So I just wanted to be clear that based on that conversation, we haven't done anything. Because I'm
Yep.
not really sure I'm not sure we've been asked to change the working document.
Would the committee be okay with Sal going over these things with Patricia independently, rather than sort of sitting through it as a review again for the next meeting? Would that be okay? And see, Jackie is nodding. Barb has a thumbs up, a very big thumb. So that then would be the motion, just that Sal and Karen or one of you to follow up with Patricia to incorporate these changes into our document for the next meeting. Is that all right with everyone? That's the motion. Would need a seconder. Jackie and Barb, thank you.
Yeah,
Anyone?
No, go ahead. Sorry, Vivian.
Nope. Motion carried. And I just need, 3 minutes myself. So now let's say till 10:37 on here. So quarter two. We'll just take a few minutes and then we will look at the list of immediate and sort some actions for the next few meetings this year. Good. Oh, Karen, yes?
Sorry, this is a really stupid question. What time are we going till? 11?
I think 11:30 was what we talked about.
The meeting's scheduled till 11:30.
Oh, I thought it was 10:30 for some reason. Okay, thank you.
So at 11:45, reconvene.
Okay, I'll stop sharing now.
And then let Patricia get her document back on the screen. Thank you. Sal, is that good with you, the way we sort of came to that?
Yeah.
Okay, because I think those are all good changes and I appreciate the time that you put into it. I really think we have to make a few action plan decisions for example, our next meeting, or how to, Jackie, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for the break. And I would like the chance when we all come back. I've got just a reflection to contribute.
Thank you. We'll start with that.
I think the sorting hasn't worked out. I think we need to just get back to the original document, and then we could always just scroll down to all the immediate ones if we have to do that.
Oh, are you saying looking at what's
Yeah,
on
just
the
the document, yeah.
We'll just wait for Patricia and Melanie, and then we'll get started again. Okay, let's come back to order, and we're going to start with Jackie wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, thanks, Sal, so much, and Karen, for the work that you did. And I just wanted to let you know that the things that I personally had highlighted were covered off on your list. So I support those actions, and I really think that looking at it, I did kind of a broad generalization of the ones you picked. And so they included a priority for Indigenous relationships, roads, connectivity, sort of the trails tourism strategy piece, mining industry and chamber were there, and BC Hydro and that energy. So other than the mining specific one, that one was all the other ones are very broad and applicable topics that to me should be at the top for economic development in our northern region. And I think the ones that you chose are all ones that we can get behind, even in each of the three or two three, AB and District of Lillooet easily. And I think that, looking at that, they are easily linked to economic development, and how we can positively move forward in this region and continue to contribute to this list, so that if the next go around, all of us do no longer exist within the organization, that the next people that will take up the moving forward have this document and this plan to continue to do the work that we're trying to do to make it sustainable, resilient, and prosperity within our northern region. So what I'd like to suggest is that when Sal meets with Patricia, that the actions he chose are highlighted in some way, that we know those are the ones that you discussed with us, and you can do the changes so that the trail strategy wording and whatever else the wording that we were talking about gets changed up a little bit, and that we have a chance with, like, Vivian and I, to look over that in context of the entire list. And then Barb and Lori with their staff can also look at that within context of the larger list, and then come back next time to be able to be prepared to say, yes, we like Sal and Karen's actions to move forward, or we'd like the, X, Y, and Z to be added, or whatever. So I really think, I can already get behind personally the ones that you've done, So yeah, so I think that to me, it feels like that's the next logical step. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Jackie, for a very nice summary, and I completely concur. And Sal, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we still, we still haven't heard from Area B, and we still haven't really heard from the District of Lillooet on, some of their priorities either. So I know we took out the agricultural pieces to it, but I'm sure there's some still left that are in there for Area B. And then, for District of Lillooet, what's there also, other than what things that I've mentioned. So I think maybe, I know Barb said that, she needs a bit more time. Maybe at the next meeting, we see what Barb has for Lillooet.
Yes, Lori.
Well, I can give you a bit of update on the Historical Society and where that's moving. It's with regards to tourism, and like I said, working collaboratively with our First Nations. For the last 50 years, the Brysons have looked after our museum, and they've done a fantastic job. But they have all moved on, and a new forum committee has begun. And Vera Bussey is the president of that committee, and Michelle Edwards is the vice president of that committee. And then there's a few of us directors. And this year, being that we're still in COVID, we have got the funding from Destination BC to run the visitor center, and we plan on doing that as it was done last year. But as for the museum and the rest of what I'm going to say has not been approved yet, but our thoughts are, because of COVID, we won't be opening the museum this year, but we will be taking this opportunity to work with our First Nations and work together to redesign the museum and make it just new, fresh, and grab some new ideas. We've been looking at other museums that are happening, and we need to clear out. It's very cluttered in there. It's dark, which of course museums are because of the lighting and the, what it does to pictures, photos, etc. But we really need to, that's our plan, is to take this year and redesign it. I think it also needs to be wheelchair accessible. So we will be applying for some grant funding, but cleaning it out and redoing it, and certain ideas have come up, like, let's take our museum artifacts and share one artifact with every store. So there's just, and I know this is getting into the meat of it, but for an example, there's a curling iron in there that I can't stop looking at. It's this big, huge round thing with all these wires and metal things hanging down, and you wrap it up and then it heats up, and God knows I have no idea why they had any hair left. But maybe that could go into a hairdressing shop, and they could display it. We need to find a way to clear some of that stuff out. So with that, that's kind of how our year is going to be planned out. So we're not going to be opening the museum at this point because of COVID. And I think we're going to experience some new things. We're still going to have the visitor center, but it's going to be very minimal. There's no buses coming in. So we are, like I said, taking this year to redesign. And I think that will be a real important step for our town, our revitalization, our everything of Lillooet. I think it'll be a whole new thing, and I am super excited to get in there and start making a difference with that museum. So that's kind of my update, and that's what I wanted to share on a roundtable because it does fit into a few of these categories. Thanks.
Thank you, Lori. And yeah, that's exactly the sort of information I think we'd all appreciate and benefit from as a roundtable close to the beginning of our meetings. And that could also serve as some updates to this plan. This plan. Barb, anything?
Not really. I don't have much to say. I've been really involved with the First Nations Health Association meetings there in regards to COVID. So that's been really time consuming for me. I'm not sure that the Miyazaki House will be opening this year either. We are applying for the Canada Summer Student Grant. And hopefully we can get two students of two different, well, not even students, two youth of two different ages so that someone doesn't have to be there constantly. We're not going to be doing tours. We're going to work on archiving some of our stuff and possibly working with the museum where we can exchange different displays to give things a new, like Lori said, a new rejuvenization, and hopefully do something with the gardens there because they are so, it's just unbelievable. And I don't even know where to start there. So we're hoping to get maybe a university student or something that's going into horticulture or some kind of a, I don't even know if that's the right word, but the rock gardens and stuff, I don't know. I'm thinking you need a jackhammer to do something there. So that's kind of basically where that one is. The district's going to be going into our, I believe it's our final strategic planning session next week, and then off into our budget. And then hopefully we'll know where we stand with some of these other things that we want to do. I had a question though for Nedick, and I don't know if this is the appropriate time or not, but I'm going to throw it out there. I was kind of hoping that we could do something with this committee similar to the PEVIS committee in Pemberton there, where we kind of accumulate some funding, maybe with the Lillooet Community Association and this, that, and the other, to be able to give our different societies a better boost than $1,000. So I don't know if that's, maybe staff could look into that or set us in a direction where we could possibly do that, or maybe we can't do it, but that's about it.
I look at what PEVIS is doing, and that's a long-term partnership between Area C and Pemberton, and they have a lot more money. They have a lot more going on. I sort of see that as a possible model for our future. And yeah, to collaborate. Yes, you're thinking about the exercise they just went through in granting that. Yes, I could see that as a way in the future kind of vision for us. And yeah, thank you, Barb, for raising that. And if nothing else, well, that's exactly what this committee is for you and I, and areas A, B, and the District of Lillooet, to kind of see where there's some synergy and collaborate and help each other. Yes. Would staff like to comment on that question at all? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. What I would say is that what Pemberton and Area C have in place is based on service establishment bylaws. And so the monies that they have available are raised through taxation from the participating areas. And so that would be an important consideration in looking at what you might like to be able to give out, is what level of taxation you would be comfortable collecting in the first place, and the timing of that, if you wanted to head in that direction, with consideration to whether this is, with COVID and everything, you probably want to think about your timing. It does take there's quite a long lead time to setting up a service area. So if that is something that you have an appetite to look at, you probably want to give some thought to that. There are different rules depending on what you're raising taxes for and what you would like the service area definition to look like. And as you do begin to move forward, we can go through that with you and give you some further information. Thank you.
That would be a neat assignment for the intern for the NDIT, just to do a little bit of research and talk to us about what it would involve. It would be a neat exercise, and it would be educational for all of us. I am in the process of requesting a service establishment area be established for Lillooet agriculture and food. Sal, you have your hand up. And you're muted.
Just on that topic, since it's a tax service, like area B has select funds, and that are used for a lot of that, helping nonprofit organizations and so on and so forth. So just wondering if Lillooet also has something like the select funds that we have in the EAD areas. Barb, could you comment on that?
I don't believe it's select funds when we do our budget, so to speak, because they're district buildings. There's so much allotted to the museum and a very small bit allotted to the Miyazaki House. But we kind of made a resolution years ago that anyone looking for donations or anything like that would go through the Lillooet Foundation. And now that Trevor Chandler stepped down at the Lillooet Foundation, I thought it would kind of be a perfect time to maybe revamp and rethink that. But I do understand the COVID thing it had really bad timing for all the plans we had. So yeah, but as far as having select funds to just give out, no, we don't.
Okay, thank you.
There is a portion of the PILT funding that does go to the District of Lillooet, but I think it just goes into general revenue. So you don't see it, it's not divided out the way it is, that 1% that goes to select. Correct? Jackie?
I just wanted to make a comment about the updates from Lori and Barb on the tourism front seem really positive. And I think that we should try to incorporate those into the progress pieces that are applicable on our spreadsheet somehow. And I was hoping that maybe they could work with Patricia to see if there is an action item that, there should be an action item they could contribute sort of a percent completed on for those pieces. Maybe Patricia would have a good idea and then suggest it to Barb and Lori, because they're significant, and it goes back to the Indigenous relationship piece that we're moving forward in such major and significant strides. So yeah, kudos to you guys, especially on that committee for the visitor center. That's huge. And the other thing I just wanted to ask about is when I heard strategic planning, and I know strategic planning goes on in both government platforms, how do you see this document being used to guide strategic planning? And maybe that can be something that anybody can comment on. Thanks.
And just along those lines, the District of Lillooet strategic plan is pretty close to done, if I understand it from Jeremy. And we would look at that when it's ready, correct? You think that would be ready for the next meeting?
I believe our strategic plan will be done January 26th is our last meeting. We're hoping to wrap it up.
Is it moving along with the same breakneck speed?
My goodness. Yes. So, and just to say, when we implement a document into any committee, that has to be accepted, voted on by the committee to take that as part of our strategic plan.
So do you think March 11th is a possibility?
It's a possibility.
I think that is a very logical next step for this group to review that strategic plan from the District of Lillooet optimistically at the March 11th meeting and make sure there's alignment. Is that good with everyone? Shall I make a motion? Melanie, yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to give a little bit of an update on where the SLRD is at as well with strategic planning. We are going to be having our first midterm review session next week, followed by another one the week after. And there are a number of other documents that contain multiple items like the ones that come out of NEDIC. And those documents will be part of the consideration. We're going to be going through the higher level SLRD strategic plan, but these lists and priorities that come out of the different committees will be available for the board's consideration so that they could be looked at from a regional perspective in terms of prioritization and allocation. And so that information will inform the availability of staff and the prioritization of staff's time, effort, and other resources moving forward as well. And certainly the impacts to NEDIC can be brought back to NEDIC for further discussion after the SLRD sessions as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So is it logical that would also be something that we would consider at the next meeting?
I don't know if everything will be completed as of that date, but I expect that we will have the review of the existing plan at the higher level, as well as looking at reporting out. And so at least a portion of that information should be available to be brought back in March.
Barb and Jackie, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we'll be okay with our strategic plan coming forward in March or the better part of it. But I'd also like to put in there that the timing on the strategic plan, things could change once we go through the budget process. So they kind of both work hand in hand as far as timelines.
I just had another question regarding the role of our committee. Is that something that, so my question just was more, thank you, CAO Melanie, she addressed it, that this information becomes available to the board when they're making decisions about priorities. And so this information is available so they understand where we're coming from as far as northern priorities, to help them make decisions in the big picture. So that was all I was wondering about, was that just understanding that this could help. This information is going to be available to help with those strategic processes. Now, as far as the role of our committee, is that something that I just envision another review process, and it makes me a little bit nervous. So I wondered, is it just more of a report? This is the strategy, for us to be able to have that, to be able to look at and ask questions of the appropriate representatives, and yeah, just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to dive into another really big review process.
And go through it line by line, Jackie. No. But those would be good to see in the sense of reviewing and looking for alignment. And I think it's part of the bigger picture. And I really like it that this will be part of the strategic review that we're doing with the SLRD. That very much needs to be done. So that timing is not too bad. Do we want to look at these immediate, the timing, that the document that we have on the screen here now? Yes, Jackie. Yep.
So I asked earlier whether it would make sense for us to be able to have, instead of we can still take time. We have a few minutes in our meeting to look at the immediate ones. But I was suggesting that for the action would be for us to get the information from Patricia, at least the spreadsheet back, after her and Sal identified the actions that he and Karen had prioritized, and any little changes to wording, and that we would have a chance before the next meeting as Area B and District of Lillooet to review those in context and to be able to be ready with our own priorities if they were different. So we can look at the immediate things now, but I would like to suggest that be our next step. I don't know if it needs to be an action or whatever, but I feel like that is logical.
That is logical. That makes very good sense to me. Do we need a motion to that effect? Yes, CAO.
Thank you, Chair. Just in listening to the committee earlier and now again, I'm wondering if we should be adding an extra column next to timing that would indicate the priority. If you guys are familiar with the urgency importance matrix, you've done a very good job of capturing the timelines here. But what Sal's talking to and what you're looking at for the next meeting is tied more to the prioritization of the items and which ones you really want pulled to the top of the pile. So would that make sense to add an extra column in order to flag all of what Sal identified as priority 1? And then we could do the same thing with any items that come back next time. Thank you.
Sal? Yeah, I like the idea. Sal, go ahead. Unmute, Sal.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we need to, are we going to have 5 priorities or 3 priorities? So, yes, for sure. I agree with that.
Yes, Jackie?
So what's the process? Can you guys help, the staff help us out? What do we need right now? Do we need a motion to add a column and then a separate motion to for area A or B? Like, what do we need right now to help us out?
Through the chair, yes, a motion. We can certainly a motion to add the extra column of priority and to reflect the information that Director Demare provided could be put in there. And then also, if you would like to pass a motion for the other directors to work on this and bring it back to the next meeting, that would be fine, if that's your desire.
Okay, yes, that's what I'd like to do. So let's put a motion forward to add the prioritization column. That's all for now. We'll deal with right now, put the priority 1 in for area A, and we'll figure out the other priority levels like next meeting. So let's add that as a motion to add that column.
Okay, so that's the motion. I'll second that. Anyone opposed to that motion? Carried. Carry on, Jackie.
And the second motion for area B and District of Lillooet to review the priority 1 actions identified by area A and bring forward their priority actions to the next NEDIC meeting.
I think that covers it. So I can second that. Anyone opposed? Okay, seeing none, carried. And maybe that's a good place to stop for this Thursday morning. Sal?
I'm wondering if once me and Patricia are done, that the Excel version gets distributed again. Because you can't work on the PDF. And that's what I did last time. I asked for the Excel version of it so what me and Karen did. And that was one of the issues, as Kristen explained earlier, that there were a bunch of changes done to this document that weren't on that Excel version that I had. So we need the latest Excel version of it once me and Patricia are done. So that area B and District of Lillooet can work on it and do very similar to what I did. So I'll make that motion. I'll make a motion that once Patricia and Sal Demare rework the document, that it be sent to the other committee members in the latest Excel version.
Jackie?
I second that.
Are you seconding that? Is that acceptable for staff in terms of logistics of working with it? Yeah, okay. Anyone, Kristen, yes?
Sorry. So then I'm just wondering, like, there's going to be different versions, and then who and when are we going to take what's in there and incorporate it back into the master document? Is that going to be done at the meeting? So everybody will just work on it, and then when we come back to this meeting, similar to what Director Demare did, go over the changes, and then another meeting afterwards with staff to make the changes to the master document.
I believe that Director Demare and Patricia will update the document with the changes agreed to today. And then we'll have the District of Lillooet and Area B look to make their changes. You're worried about the logistics of different documents.
That's right. That's
Sal.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Sal. I think the way it's going to work is that Patricia's got the original document. So she's got that document, and the only changes that are going to be made is what we agreed to today. And I think that would work similarly for Area B and Area District of Lillooet. And then moving forward, as we move forward, we're going to, you know, if we do another review of that document, that it could be done right at the meeting. But this will give us a good start on things that we want to work on in a prioritized fashion.
Yes, please proceed, Jackie.
I just wanted to clarify that with my action that shows the priority, we're going to put priority 1 on the action items that Sal and Karen have presented to us, so we can differentiate, we can tell which ones they are. So nothing else will be in that column except for, oh good, so yes, CAO, Melanie's shaking her head yes, so great. Okay, I just want to make sure that that was going to be clear when we get that document to us, so we can see what I can't remember which one, so it's good it'll be on that spreadsheet.
Yes, CAO Melanie, yes. And Lori.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask if Director Demare could share that to us as staff so that we can then work with him.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
It's on my to-do list already.
So do you need that in the minutes or? And sorry, Lori, I forgot you had your hand up.
Well, I just wanted some clarification between, just the difference between the timing and the priority. Are we putting priority on each of the timings, like the intermediate, the long term, the short term? Are we prioritizing each of those individually, or how do we do that? What exactly are we prioritizing?
Yep, CAO Helmer.
Thank you, Chair. So it's my understanding that what Director Demare and alternate Director Playfair did was go through the list and say, there's a number of things that have different timelines, but which are the truly most important things to us that we need to get done when we're balancing scarce resources and multiple priorities? So the priority column is separate so that you can say, if you have 5 immediate things, I'd like you to focus first and with the greatest effort on this, because this is truly important to us, we need to get it done. Whereas other things may have layers of importance, but not everything's a priority 1. And so it helps with the allocation of resources in identifying what's most important. And I appreciate the time and effort that was put into that by the 2 individuals. And I think it will be helpful for us in moving forward this long list of priorities and allocating time. So it's a different piece than the urgent, because you could have a whole bunch of things that need to get done in the short term, but which one is most important?
Okay, thanks.
Does that help?
Mm-hmm.
And Patricia will maintain the master document. And so I think this can work just fine for our next meeting. Other comments? Okay. Shall I move on the agenda? Yes, Kristen.
Thank you. I had just had that moved. I didn't have it seconded or carried, that the resolution that once the work documents reworked, it be sent to the other committee members as an Excel document.
Okay. So the motion to be that once Area A's completed the update with staff that the updated document be sent to Area B and the District of Lillooet to comment on the new priority column and other important changes if necessary. And that those will be ready for the next meeting. Am I capturing that? So I need a seconder for that motion. Sal, thank you. Any opposed? Motion carried. So the next item on our agenda is a decision on late business. And following that, late business. Following that, director's notion of motion, director's notice of motion. Yes, Sal?
I'd like to say something with the director's notice of motion. We just talked about this at the last DAD meeting, which was yesterday, about what the purpose of that director's notice of motion is. So I'm going to be at the next NEDI meeting, or NEDIC meeting, sorry, NDIT meeting, which is next week. I'm going to be proposing to the, what we have at that meeting is the Southern Caribou District, the little committee. And that's where they propose all these new, I don't know how many people have been to these, but they propose the, what applications are in and all notifications of ones that were granted for all the grants that they've given out and all the new ones that are coming. One of the things that has happened in the past is that they had a scoring system, and you got a good amount of points if you partnered with the First Nations organization. So they actually took that away, because I asked the question, why did you take it away? And the reason they said they took it away was because they weren't getting enough of them. So since the federal government with the UNDRIP, the proclamation and the reconciliation recommendations, I really feel that it needs to come back so that NDIT promotes partnerships with First Nations. And that's an incentive for people to, not only for First Nations, but also for other organizations to create partnerships. I mean, the partnership that we had with the Trail Committee is an example where, we could apply for funding and all of a sudden you get all these extra points, and it was 20 points that you used to get. And to me, it's imperative that NDIT actually promotes these partnerships as part of UNDRIP and the reconciliation process. So I'm going to be presenting that to that committee next week. Because and if you take a look at what we're doing here with this committee, it should also be part of our process. So that's what I'm going to be doing at the next meeting with the NDIT. And the process is I tried to get an explanation from the NDIT CAO, but I can't say he was totally forthcoming, because in the end it has to go to the board, to their board of directors, and they have to approve that to get it back. And my plan is to be able to get a resolution onto that board of directors meeting on this topic. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sal. And I'll certainly be supporting you on that at the meeting. And I know with Fish and Wildlife Compensation Program, the partnership with First Nations it was mandatory, and it resulted in some very good outcomes. So I truly think it's a good way to go. And so, yes. Anything else from anyone? Thank you very much, you guys. We made a little bit of progress here, and best of the new year and all those sorts of things. Would we have a motion to adjourn, please? From Sal Demare, seconded by Jackie. And we can adjourn. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.